My father said those words at my engagement party, loud enough for everyone at the table to hear. Mark my words, he'll leave you within a year. You don't know how to keep a man happy. You're too stubborn, too independent. Marriage requires submission, and you don't have it in you. I was 24 years old, standing in my sundress, holding a glass of wine that suddenly tasted like vinegar. My fiancé Tyler's hand found mine under the table and squeezed. My mother, sitting across from us, pretended to study her phone. Nobody said anything. Nobody defended me. I smiled, set down my glass, and said, "Thank you for the prediction, Dad. I'll be sure to update you annually." He laughed like I'd made a joke. I wasn't joking. That was 5 years ago. Tyler and I just celebrated our 5th anniversary with a trip to the coast, walking along the beach at sunset, holding hands like we did when we first started dating. 3 weeks after we got back, my phone rang. Unknown number. I almost didn't answer, but something made me pick up, and I heard a woman's voice I didn't recognize. Hesitant. Nervous. "Is this the daughter? His daughter?" I said yes, already knowing whose daughter she meant. "This is Patricia." "Patricia. Well, I guess I'm your father's wife now. Number 4. I did the math quickly. Wife number 4. The one he'd married 8 months ago. The one I'd never met. The one who was only 6 years older than me. "I know this is strange," she continued, "but I need to ask you something. I've been married to your father for 8 months and I'm already losing my mind. I found your number in some old papers. I need to know. Your marriage. Is it working? How did you do it? How did you prove him wrong?" I sat down on my apartment couch, looking around at the life Tyler and I had built together over 5 years. The photos on the wall from our wedding, our honeymoon, our first apartment. The plant we'd somehow kept alive since we moved in together. I thought about my father's 4 marriages, his certainty at my engagement party that I would fail, his complete inability to see that the problem was never his wives. It was always him. "Patricia," I said slowly, "why don't we meet for coffee? I think we have a lot to talk about." Let me take you back, because this story isn't about proving my father wrong. It's about learning that some people project their failures onto everyone around them because admitting the truth would require them to change. If you've ever been told you weren't enough by someone who couldn't maintain their own relationships, if you've ever succeeded at exactly what someone said you'd fail at, this story is for you. My parents divorced when I was 6. I don't remember them being happy together, but I remember the end. The screaming matches at night, the slamming doors, my mother crying in the kitchen while I hid in my room not knowing what to do. My father left on a Thursday morning, kissed me on the forehead, said he'd see me that weekend. I didn't see him for a month. When I finally did, he had a new apartment and a woman named Brenda who smiled too much and called me "sweetie" in a voice that made my skin crawl. My mother struggled after that divorce, really struggled. She worked 2 jobs, raised me mostly alone, dated occasionally but never seriously. She told me once that my father had broken something in her that she couldn't fix. Meanwhile, my father cycled through women like they were seasonal wardrobes. Brenda lasted 2 years. Then came Valerie, who lasted 3. Then Donna, who made it almost 4 years. By the time I graduated high school, I'd watched my father promise forever to 3 different women and break that promise every single time. I learned young that my father saw women as accessories, things to acquire, display, and discard when they no longer suited him. He'd complain about each wife to me during our awkward monthly dinners. Brenda was too needy. Valerie was too cold. Donna didn't understand him. The complaints were always the same, just with different names attached. I'd sit across from him at whatever restaurant he'd chosen, pushing food around my plate, wondering if he hurt himself. Wondering if he knew he was the common denominator in every failed relationship. I met Tyler in college, sophomore year, introduction to psychology class. He sat next to me on the first day, because the only other open seat was in the front row, and he admitted later he was too hungover to sit that close to the professor. We didn't start dating right away. We were friends first, study partners, two people who discovered they liked talking to each other more than anyone else. He asked me out at the end of fall semester, nervous like he thought I'd say no. I said yes before he finished the sentence. What I noticed first about Tyler was how he listened. Actually listened, not just waited for his turn to talk. He asked questions about my life and remembered the answers weeks later. He met my mother and treated her with kindness, saw the tiredness behind her smile, and helped clear the table without being asked. He met my father once, early on, at one of those awkward dinners. Afterward, in the car, Tyler was quiet for a long time. "Your dad talks a lot about himself," he said finally. "Does he ever ask about you?" Nobody had ever noticed that before. Nobody had ever said it out loud. That's when I knew Tyler saw things clearly. That's when I knew he might be different. We dated for 3 years before he proposed. My father had opinions about everything, including our timeline. 3 years of dating? He said during one of our dinners, Donna sitting beside him looking bored. Either propose or move on. You're wasting her best years. Tyler, sitting beside me, said nothing, just kept eating his pasta. Later, in the car, I apologized for my father's comments. Tyler shrugged. He's projecting. Men who see women as investments with expiration dates talk like that. I'm not in a rush. Are you? I wasn't. Tyler proposed 6 months later on a hiking trail overlooking the valley where we'd had our first real date. I said yes before he finished asking. The engagement party was my mother's idea. Small gathering, just family and close friends, at a nice restaurant downtown. My father brought Donna, who spent most of the evening on her phone. My mother brought her sister, my aunt, who'd helped raise me during the hard years. Everything was going fine until my father stood up to make a toast. Traditionally, a father might say something supportive about his daughter's future, something hopeful, something kind. My father talked for 10 minutes about himself. About how marriage was difficult and most people weren't suited for it. About how he'd learned from his own experiences that relationships require sacrifice. About how he hoped I'd prove him wrong, but honestly expected I wouldn't. Then came the line I'll never forget, delivered with a smile like he was being charming. "Mark my words, he'll leave you within a year. You don't know how to keep a man happy. You're too stubborn, too independent. Marriage requires submission, and you don't have it in you." The table went silent. I could feel Tyler's hand find mine, warm and steady. My mother looked like she wanted to disappear into her chair. Donna was actually smirking, like this was entertainment. I looked at my father, at his expensive watch and his third wife, and his absolute certainty that I would fail at something he'd failed at 3 times already. Something shifted inside me. Not anger, clarity. I picked up my wine glass, smiled, and said, "Thank you for the prediction, Dad. I'll be sure to update you annually." People laughed nervously. My father laughed loudly like I'd made a joke. I wasn't joking. I was making a promise to myself. Whatever my marriage became, it would be nothing like his. The wedding was small, 40 people, a backyard ceremony at my aunt's house, exactly what Tyler and I wanted. My mother cried the whole time. My father showed up late with Donna, complained about the parking, and left before the cake was cut. I barely noticed. I was too busy being married, being happy, being exactly where I wanted to be. Year 1 was an adjustment, learning to share space, share decisions, share a life with someone. We argued about money, about chores, about whose family we'd visit for holidays. Normal things, stupid things. Things that feel enormous when you're 25 and learning how to be half of something bigger than yourself. But we figured it out. We talked. We compromised. We chose each other even when it was hard. On our first anniversary, I texted my father. Just wanted to let you know. Still married. Tyler hasn't left yet. His response came 3 hours later. It's only been a year. Give it time. I showed Tyler. We laughed so hard we couldn't breathe. Nothing was wrong. Everything was exactly right. Year 2 brought challenges. Tyler got laid off when his company downsized. 3 months of unemployment, uncertainty, fear. I watched my father's prediction echo in my head during the hard nights when I couldn't sleep, staring at the ceiling, wondering if this was the beginning of the end. Maybe he was right. Maybe this would break us. Maybe we'd become another statistic, another young marriage that couldn't handle real life. Instead, it brought us closer. I picked up extra freelance work, took on projects I would have said no to before. Tyler took odd jobs, anything to contribute, working weekends at a warehouse and never once complaining. We ate ramen and made it romantic, lit candles, and pretended we were in a tiny restaurant in Tokyo having an adventure. We learned that we could be a team under pressure, not just when things were easy. When Tyler finally got a new job, better than the old one with better pay and better people, we celebrated by buying actual groceries for the first time in months. Real vegetables, fresh bread. It felt like winning the lottery. We'd survived something hard together. My father never survived anything with anyone. He just left when it got difficult. Moved on to someone new who didn't know yet how hard he was to live with. That same year, my father divorced Donna. I heard about it through my aunt. Apparently, there was cheating involved, though the story changed depending on who was telling it. My father was devastated, posting vague things on social media about betrayal and trust. I thought about commenting that betrayal seemed to be a pattern in his life, that maybe he should look at himself. I didn't. What would be the point? People who don't want to see themselves clearly never will. Year 3. Tyler got promoted to a position he'd been working toward since he started. I started my own small business, something I'd been dreaming about for years. It was terrifying, leaving the safety of a regular paycheck, but Tyler believed in me even when I didn't believe in myself. He helped me build my website late at night, brought me coffee during the weeks I worked 18-hour days, never once suggested I should quit and go back to something stable. That's what partnership looks like, supporting each other's dreams even when they're scary. We moved from our tiny apartment to a slightly less tiny apartment with actual closet space and a window in the bathroom. It felt like moving into a mansion. We talked about the future, about kids eventually, about building something that would last beyond just the two of us. My mother visited and cried again, happy tears this time. I never thought I'd see this, she said, looking around at our little apartment that felt enormous with possibility. A relationship that actually works. You broke the pattern, baby. You really did. I hadn't thought of it that way before, but she was right. I was breaking the pattern my father had set. I was proving that his way wasn't the only way. That marriage could be something beautiful instead of something that destroyed you. Year 4 brought stability. My business grew. Tyler loved his job. We adopted a cat named Murphy who destroyed one couch and then decided he was civilized. We weren't rich, but we were comfortable. Happy in ways that felt earned. I'd mostly stopped thinking about my father's prediction by then. It had become background noise, a joke Tyler and I referenced occasionally. 5:20, that look that said she believed she'd finally found something real, not knowing yet that she'd just become the next person my father would blame when things fell apart. The wedding invitation came in the mail. My father's fourth wedding. I didn't go. Sent a card with a gift card inside and a note that said, "Best wishes." Tyler asked if I was okay skipping it. I told him I'd watched my father get married 3 times already. I knew how this story ended. I didn't need to see the beginning again. Year 5. Our anniversary trip to the coast. Walking on the beach. Watching the sunset. Feeling grateful for what we'd built. 5 years of choosing each other. 5 years of proving that marriage doesn't have to be what my father made it. 5 years of being stubborn and independent together, because those weren't weaknesses. They were what made our partnership work. Then Patricia called. We met at a coffee shop near my apartment. I wasn't sure what to expect. My father's wives had always been a certain type. Polished, put together, trying hard to seem happy. Patricia surprised me. She looked exhausted. Deep circles under her eyes, hands that wouldn't stop fidgeting with her coffee cup. She was only 35 but looked older, worn down by something heavy. "He told me you were divorced," she said, stirring her latte without drinking it. "When we first started dating and I asked about his kids, he said you'd gotten married young and it didn't work out. That you were just like him, couldn't make relationships last." She looked up at me. Then I found some old photos in a box. "Your wedding, your anniversaries, 5 years of photos." He lied. I wasn't surprised. My father's relationship with truth had always been flexible, bending to whatever story made him look best. "He said a lot of things at my engagement party," I said. "Told everyone Tyler would leave within a year. That I didn't know how to keep a man happy." Patricia's face twisted. Recognition and pain mixed together. "That sounds like him. He says things like that to me too. That I'm lucky he puts up with me. That no one else would want me now." "What's going on, Patricia?" I asked. "Why are you really here?" She started crying then. Not dramatic sobbing, just a quiet leaking of tears she'd probably been holding back for months. "I'm losing myself," she said. "Everything I do is wrong. The house is never clean enough. The meals aren't good enough. I'd watched my mother live it for years after the divorce. Watched Brenda become a shadow of herself. Watched Valerie shrink. Watched Donna's spark die. My father didn't hit. Didn't scream much. He diminished. Controlled through constant small criticisms until his wives forgot who they'd been before him. Made them feel small so he could feel big. "That's his pattern," I said. "It's not you. It's him. It's always been him." Patricia stayed for 2 hours. I told her about growing up with him, about watching his marriages fail one after another, about the engagement party speech that was supposed to curse me but instead freed me. I told her about Tyler, about how a real partnership works, about how love shouldn't feel like a constant test you're always failing. She listened with the desperate attention of someone who'd been drowning and just realized she could swim. "I've been thinking about leaving," she admitted. "For months now. But I keep hearing his voice in my head, telling me I'm being dramatic, that I'm too old to start over, that this is as good as it gets." "That's his voice," I said. "Not truth. The truth is, you survived before him, and you'll survive after him. You're 35. You have decades ahead of you. Don't spend them shrinking." "How did you do it?" she asked. 5 years. Happy. How? I thought about the question. Really thought. "We chose each other," I said finally. "Every single day we chose each other. Not because it was easy, because some days it was really hard, but because we both decided that our relationship was worth fighting for." My father doesn't do that. When things get hard, he leaves. He finds someone new to blame. Tyler and I decided we'd never do that. We'd fight for us instead of against each other. That's the whole secret. It's not complicated. It's just commitment. Patricia left with my number and a promise to call. I watched her walk to her car, shoulders hunched like she was carrying something heavy. I hoped she'd leave him. I hoped she'd find herself again, but that was her choice to make, not mine. Tyler was home when I got back. "How'd it go?" he asked, looking up from his laptop. "She's going to leave him," I said. "I think, eventually." I sat down next to him on the couch, Murphy immediately claiming my lap. She asked how we did it. 5 years. Happy. Tyler smiled. "What did you tell her?" "That we choose each other. Every day." He put his arm around me and pulled me closer. "Still choosing you," he said. "Even when you're stubborn and too independent?" "Especially then. That's why it works." I called my mother that night, told her about Patricia, about the coffee shop conversation, about my father's latest marriage already falling apart 8 months in. She sighed, that tired sound she made whenever we talked about him. "He'll never change," she said. "I know. But you did. You broke the cycle. You found someone good and you're building something real. That's all I ever wanted for you." Patricia texted me 2 weeks later. I told him I want a divorce. He said I was making the biggest mistake of my life, that no one else would ever want me, that I'd regret this forever. I texted back. That's what he said to my mom. She didn't regret it. She got her life back. Patricia sent a heart emoji. 3 months later, the divorce was final. She sent me a photo of her new apartment. Small, but hers. She looked different in the photo. Lighter. Like she'd set down something heavy she'd been carrying too long. My father called me after the divorce was finalized, which was unusual. We mostly communicated through occasional texts and awkward holiday dinners. "Did you talk to Patricia?" he asked, his voice tight. "Yes." "What did you tell her?" "The truth." Silence. Then, "What truth?" "That you're the common denominator in all your failed marriages, that the problem isn't your wives, it's you." More silence. Then he hung up. He didn't call again for 6 months. Tyler and I are planning for the future now. Thinking about houses, about kids eventually, about building a life that keeps growing. My father's on wife number. Actually, I've lost track. There was someone after Patricia. Another someone after that. He's 58 now, and still convinced that the right woman will fix everything, still blaming each one who leaves for not being enough. I stopped counting his marriages. What I count instead is ours. 6 years now. 7 soon. Every year, another proof that his prediction was wrong. That stubbornness and independence aren't flaws in a marriage. They're features. That choosing each other every day matters more than submission ever could. He'll leave you within a year. It's been almost 6 years. He hasn't left. He's not going to. And my father's on his 5th relationship since my engagement party, still searching for something he'll never find because he's looking in the wrong place. The problem was never his wives. The problem is that he doesn't know how to choose someone and keep choosing them when it gets hard. Patricia texts me sometimes. She's dating someone new, taking it slow, learning what healthy looks like. She thanked me once for that coffee shop conversation, said it was the first time anyone had told her the truth about my father. The first time anyone had confirmed that she wasn't crazy, wasn't dramatic, wasn't the problem. Sometimes that's all someone needs. Permission to trust what they already know. My mother sees all of this clearly now. She told me recently that watching my marriage is healing something in her, proof that the pattern can be broken. That one generation's failures don't have to become the next generation's destiny. That love can be built on partnership instead of power. If someone ever told you that you weren't enough, if someone predicted your failure while failing themselves, if you've spent years proving wrong the people who counted you out, this story is for you. You don't need their acknowledgement. Their inability to see your success says everything about them and nothing about you. Sometimes the best revenge isn't confrontation or anger. It's just living well, building something real while they keep burning everything down. Tell me in the comments, has anyone ever predicted you would fail at something you succeeded at? Did they ever admit they were wrong? I read every story. Subscribe for more stories about people who proved their doubters wrong simply by living their best lives. Sometimes the most powerful response to someone's curse is just outlasting it.